So what are the consequences of not paying child support? That's a very serious offense under Texas law. It's not a criminal offense. It's not a crime, but there are very serious consequences for failure to pay child support. When a court issues a child support order, assuming you're not self-employed, then the court will generally issue what's called an income withholding order that will be sent to your employer. And your employer will automatically deduct from your paycheck whatever your child support obligation is, meaning you really don't have the discretion to decide whether you're going to pay or not pay your child support in a given month, just like you don't have any discretion about the FICA or the federal taxes that are automatically deducted from your paycheck. That being said, if you change employers or you're self-employed or you and your ex have decided not to have the court issue an income withholding order, then you are responsible for sending a check to what's called the state disbursement unit, essentially the child support office, every month. And then that money is going to then be remitted to the party receiving the child support payment. And if you fail to make that payment, then the state of Texas, the Attorney General's office, can file what's called an enforcement action against you, or the party who's receiving the child support, your ex-wife, your ex-husband, can file an enforcement action, a lawsuit against you, seeking to collect whatever you owe in arrearages. And if you don't pay the arrearages, if the court finds that you have failed to pay the arrearages, the court can sentence you to jail. You can spend up to 180 days in jail for failing to pay child support. You can have your driver's license suspended for failure to pay child support. And if an enforcement action is filed against you and your ex or the person who's going after you has to incur attorney's fees to pursue that enforcement action, then the court is going to order a judgment against you for those attorney's fees. And if you fail to pay the attorney's fees, you can be held in contempt and potentially be punished through jail time for failing to pay the attorney's fees. So not paying child support is a serious issue. Obviously, it's not something you should do if your circumstances change, if you lose your job, you have another child. Those are grounds for modifying your child support. And in that instance, you should contact the Attorney General's office. If you cannot afford a lawyer, the AG can file a modification suit on your behalf. But if you can't afford a lawyer, then you can contact a private attorney and file a modification to have your child support adjusted. But until that order is changed, you are obligated to pay whatever the order says you're obligated to pay on a monthly basis. You can't just stop paying child support because you lost your job or your circumstances have changed. You have to go through the court process to get that order formally modified if you want a reduction in your child support. Another question that often comes up, particularly in cases involving more high net worth individuals, is, well, what about college? You may want your spouse to help pay for your children's college expenses. Is that something that a court can order your spouse to do? The answer to that question is no. You are not legally obligated to pay for college expenses for your children. Once your child support obligation expires when the child is 18, you are, in the eyes of the law, essentially off the hook as far as your financial responsibilities to your children going forward. However, it's not unusual for parents going through a divorce to agree that they will pay some percentage, some portion of their children's college expenses. And that is something that can be put into your final divorce decree, or if it's just a standalone custody action, it's language that can be included in your final order. But if you fail to comply with that obligation, if you fail to actually pay for half or whatever the agreement is of your child's college tuition, the most the other party can do is file a lawsuit against you and obtain a judgment against you for whatever that amount of money is. You're not going to be held in contempt or put in jail for not paying for college expenses in the way you would for failure to pay child support. So again, you're not legally responsible for paying for your child's college education, but it is something that you and your spouse can agree to as part of your final settlement in the divorce or child custody action.